Well, only about a month or two after I finished releasing, not finished producing, because I made most of those in September-ish as far as the original production goes, but only a couple months after I finished releasing my big OBS Masterclass, the OBS team has released a huge, massive update to the software, and it is really, really cool. This is OBS version 21, or 21.0.1, since they've already had to put out a hotfix, and they've got quite a few awesome changes here. Now, for transparency, just so I can remember instead of making my own outline, they did put out a tweet list of all the major features here, which I will have linked in the video description that I'm just going to kind of be referencing. But there's some really cool stuff. These are features I have been asking for a very long time, and features that I will be super stoked to finally figure out and see other people really put to use so that they start rocking. So this is, I have it set up right now. I was going to show you like the update process, even though it's the same auto updater as usual. However, I am on a fresh reinstall of Windows. I've built a new computer, and that meant that it started out with OBS 21, so I just left it with that. So the biggest update, which is one I can't honestly show you a whole lot with, is that they've added the ability for you to script within OBS, to add OBS custom scripting via Python or Lua macros, which can be used for a wide number of things. That was actually the original workaround the Linus Tech Tips editor Taryn was using for his multiple keyboard hack that he put together. He doesn't use that anymore, but that's what he was originally using, was Lua macros. And so you can do pretty much anything with this, and this will really change how OBS is used once more developers come in and, you know, utilize the scripting to make cool tools and things like that. To access some sample scripts, you can go up to Tools and then Scripts, and then hit the plus to add them. And they've included some sample Lua scripts and actually a Python script with the program. I'm not going to use the Python one because I don't actually have Python installed right now on my system. Like I said, it is a new system. Don't feel like screwing with that for the video. But we do have, for example, a countdown script. Sets a text source to act as a countdown timer when the source is active. You can have a duration. You got to choose a text source, so you have to actually have a text source added here. So if I go to text GDI, countdown, hit OK, you can then customize the font and things like that. So countdown. Then, of course, you can change the font and do everything else for your countdown. Let's just pick something random here. Balloon. Yeah, we'll have a nice 70s countdown. Click OK. It's all the way up here. It's really tiny. We're going to make it bigger. Count. Oh, that looks terrible. That's fine. Scripts. Our text source is now going to be, it's still inactive, so we're going to come back here. Tools, Scripts, countdown.lua. We're going to choose our text source. Countdown. Haha, okay. That it's not letting me select a text source, but by typing the name in, it was able to automatically pull it up and automatically turns it into a countdown. Reset timer. This could be useful for general countdowns if you're doing a live stream countdown till a certain time, if you're doing a sort of like speed run thing or timed events. Pretty neat. And of course, you can reload the script here, which just kind of resets it too, or if the script bugs out or something, or you can remove it with the minus. That does leave the text source as whatever the number was at last, so do with that what you will. There's a clock source. Adds a Lua clock, wow, source to here. So then if we go to the plus on a source, Lua clock, that's pretty cool. Only analog, but still pretty neat. Tools, scripts, what else we got? And we have, oh, there is an instant replay source. So this is interesting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show it off here, but according to the GitHub doc, it automatically saves a replay if there's an active replay buffer and then plays it back at a specific media source once it has been saved. So you kind of trigger it here. We'll go ahead and add it here. Instant replay. And then you choose the media source that it gets added to. And then I believe there will be a hotkey to play it back. Not 100% sure there. So you can play around with that. Pretty neat stuff. Again, this is everything, you know, as always, a little bit work in progress. Still pretty neat, though, and I'm excited to see what they, or, you know, what people can do with scripting in the long run. So that's arguably the biggest feature, but one that I'm not exactly going to be able to do the best job of showing you, unfortunately. They do have some other features here. Let me pull this list back up. Oh, one note I wanted to add. Here, I'll add it here right now. If you add an Elgato 4K 60 to your scene source, it automatically chooses the correct audio device. So no longer do you have to click custom audio device and choose 4K audio device, custom O1 or whatever. One of the Elgato engineers actually added or submitted code to fix that specifically in OBS 21, which is really neat. A cool feature that I had been requesting for a while after having used professional switchers and a program called vMix is multi-view. So if you go to view, you have multi-view for full screen or windowed. So if we go to full screen, you get to choose your monitor, which is super important for this feature. So we'll just go ahead and choose this one. Look at this. This may not seem like a big deal. It may seem obvious to some of you, but this is one of the most important features for professional broadcasts. And having it laid out this way, this is how the Blackmagic ATEM switchers work. This is how professional TV switchers work. This is how programs like vMix, which are used for higher end broadcasting, work. This is what you're supposed to have. This is really freaking cool. And then you can switch between your sources. If you've seen any of my coverage of other broadcast hardware when it comes to switchers and stuff, this is the kind of thing you need to actually run a proper broadcast. This is so cool. Now, how do I escape pulls out of it? Okay. And then you can also go to view, multi-view windowed. Gives you this tiny little preview that you can then resize and do with what you will, which is also pretty handy, especially if you're managing on less monitors and can't sacrifice one to dedicated outputs. You can still have this going, which is pretty slick. This is a huge feature, one I had been requesting for such a long time. Thank you for adding it. That was directly to the OBS devs. Another feature that I had been requesting myself actually in my OBS course itself was scene-specific transitions. This is super important for the Stinger transitions, that new feature that they added, where you can add custom overlay clips. I have a whole video on this in the course. If you don't know, linked in the video description. Stinger transitions, they're kind of useless, in my opinion, without custom per scene transitions. This is an option now. Click on your scene, right-click, transition override, fade. Right-click, scene, transition override, cut. Right-click, transition override. We don't really have more than that, so I'll add another fade. Cut, fade. Cut, fade. Seems silly. Seems so silly, but it's so important if you're going to create a big scene collection that you're using for a full stream, not just one scene to record your desktop, but if you're setting up, I want a Stinger transition to roll over to my instant replay to say instant replay. And then I want cutting between my multiple monitors because it'd be weird to fade those. And I want to fade between my Be Right Back screen and my gameplay facecam scene. This is how you do it. Right here. Another addition is when you go into studio mode, you can actually change the layout from vertical to from horizontal to vertical, which is useful if you have portrait mode, vertically oriented monitors. This setting is over in your settings menu under studio mode, transition to scene when double clicked. So you can double click over here and switch scenes. So if we tell it to go here, I'll click apply, click OK. When you're messing around in studio mode, you're clicking on your sources or your scenes. You might be defaulting to thinking that that's going to switch live, but it's not since you're in studio mode, obviously. But instead of having to come over here and hit a transition button, you can literally just double click and that makes it live. I would still like to see some sort of overlay on these sections to say which one's live, preview, which one's live. That's kind of important for a multi-view kind of thing, which studio mode kind of is. They said it's kind of difficult to develop this without having the text get all thrown off for scaling and stuff, but this is an option. Also, if you go back to those settings, you have the option to switch between portrait or vertical, which is pretty slick. Another big feature that has been requested by lots of people, down here under your streaming controls, whenever you enable studio mode or you hit start or start streaming or start recording, those buttons stay highlighted to indicate that they are active. So whether studio mode is active, whether recording is active, and so on, those stay highlighted, which makes it a lot easier to tell what's going on. Now, they don't highlight bright red or anything. That's been requested a couple times because this is still a little more subtle. It's just like you're still clicking on it the whole time, but it does still work. Now, they also added a couple more themes. They made dark mode the default theme, which I appreciate. Although, if you're going to do that, then you need to change the light theme from default to being called light. I will say that. They've made some improvements to Rachni, but Rachni and Acri here, which is a new one, still don't scale with Windows well. They still haven't updated that to actually scale with your operating system scaling. So over here at 4K, this is a little painful to use. The color scheme's pretty cool. The dark's a little dark for my taste, but the color scheme overall is pretty cool and would actually go with a lot of Linux like color schemes that I've used for some of the older window managers on like X11 and things like that. So that's pretty neat. And so if you want more theming, they do have it available, and they made dark the default. Like I said, they just need to rename light from default to light. Audio in OBS Studio 21 has been completely overhauled in the best possible way. You might already see down here in the mixer, the audio levels look way different. This gives you a lot more information about your audio levels and where they should be at and things like that. But that doesn't stop there, because you notice that they now all have 2 bars because these are all stereo sources. If you go into your audio settings, they now have support for up to 7.1 surround sound audio. Now, this functions in 2 ways. First and foremost, you can set your base canvas to be 7.1 surround audio to create a surround sound audio video file, but it can also support surround sound audio sources, such as my Magewell capture card, which brings in full 7.1 and has always just been downmixed to stereo here in OBS. You can actually do this directly to surround sound, which maintains that intact. Here it points out that if you're switching, you do need to restart the program, and certain services don't always support surround sound ingest and playback. It says Twitch, Facebook 360 Live, Mixer, RTMP, and Smashcast are examples where surround sound is fully supported. Normal Facebook Live and YouTube Live support you sending them surround sound, but it will automatically downmix it to stereo for the viewers. You can still use OBS audio filters with surround sound, but the VST plugins may or may not work. I'm going to go ahead and say no because I don't want that enabled right now. I'm going to hit cancel because this profile is just for my desktop recording. But there is more. You see, there are color sections, and this gives you so much. One of the complaints I had in my OBS course, and I'm going to have to like rehash that whole episode about how to get your best audio settings for this. This is what I was recreating through the tutorial, was this sort of visualization. You have activity indicators that tell you the levels that you are at as far as where you're actually looking. Now, I believe these are supposed to show numbers. These numbers are really tiny. They're not scaling with Windows well. It may need a restart here. Let me relaunch it real quick. It may be an issue of me switching to that. No, I was going to say maybe if it was from switching to that theme and back. But so those need to be updated to scale better with Windows because I can't honestly read those from here. But basically, it gives you actual indication as to where your audio levels is on a proper decibel spectrum. And then they have an excellent guide over on the OBS wiki as far as, here, I'll actually just pull it up here. They have an excellent guide, which I'll have to remix a bit for my video, regarding how to set this up properly, how to understand the mixer, and where your sounds should be. For example, this -20 to -10 range is where your speech should be. Once you get past the -10 or -9-ish range, nothing should be here. That's way too hot. All other sounds need to be in the green so that they can be heard underneath your voice, but not overpower your voice. And then it goes on to explain the surround sound source. And here you see an example of a surround sound device being mixed with a stereo device being mixed with a mono device, a microphone. Really, really good guide. Shows all the different indicators and really helps you understand where your audio levels should be. And like I said, I will attempt to remix this a bit for a video guide to kind of replace that last episode we did on the audio sources. But they have done an amazing job overhauling these. There is one more thing you can do here with the compression filter now, which I am a huge fan of and super grateful for. There is this process in audio processing, audio mixing, called ducking and side chaining, which allows you to basically take your main track and apply processing to another track based on what happens here. Sounds a little weird, but a specific use case. Let's say, see down here I have my microphone, which is very active because I'm talking right now, and then I have my PC input. Now I'm going to turn off my speakers, and I'm going to play some music. This is from a game soundtrack, shouldn't get copyright claimed, won't even show up in the video anyway. Now you see my music's going, it's way too hot. So naturally, I'm going to bring it down to here, where all other sounds should be. And this should be the average peak zone, not like where it always is, but where the average peaks are. So that might be okay, that's probably okay. But then what I can do, go over here, go to filters, add a filter, add a compressor. We'll call this duck. And what this will do is I can automatically duck it based on my mic. So then we set up the compressor to at the threshold of, let's say, All right, so this is an example of the auto ducking working correctly. Also, real quick, holy balls, I can finally record with Premiere Pro open with the new OBS version because of the new FFmpeg versions they've included that makes new API calls to NVENC, which I've talked about in other videos. This is incredible, but not something they even expected. But I was talking to the OBS devs to figure out how the heck this auto ducking thing is supposed to work, and I've gotten it to work. You can see as I'm talking, the music gets quieter. If I stop talking, it climbs back up. Perfect. So how you do it, I'm going to go ahead and mute my music here. So you go to the filter, but you need to change the compressor settings. So I showed you to select the ducking source, but then you need to change some settings. Now, there might be better indication, or there might be better settings for you to work with other than this, but for the moment, the quick, dirty thing to do is to change the release time to max, and then change the threshold to match your music. So if I hit play on that music again, and we zoom in on that timeline, or on that audio meter, you can sort of see down there some quieter music I was listening to was hitting about minus 25, 26, 27. So then if I set the threshold to minus 30, anything above minus 30 is going to get compressed down based on this auto ducking mechanism. And then the release time just makes sure that it acts quick enough to do this. So this applies the compressor of 10 times whenever it detects activity on my mic. I believe this is how it works. I'm still just learning it. Even one of the devs is working with me to figure out how exactly it works. Not perfect, but if you want a quick and dirty way to get it started, this might be the way to go. And then I'll show you in Premiere how the waveforms look. Now, the audio levels are a little skewed because it was already so quiet, so it looks like it just cuts off. But you can see here, as I start talking, that music gets louder and drops down. And then it drops entirely away as I'm talking, gets louder in between me talking, and drops down. And if I play that back here, we're going to just play it back a little bit. You can sort of see down there some quieter music I was listening to was hitting about minus 25, 26, 27. So then if I set the threshold to minus 30, anything above minus 30 is going to get compressed down. By default, without managing multiple audio levels, that's still, the music's still a little loud for, you know, being ideal. You'll have to tweak the settings and lower the OBS levels as you go to more perfectly fit your desired results, but you get the idea. Lastly, with the audio, as far as I'm aware, the last thing is you can now rename your audio sources. So for example, I have here microphone for my main microphone, PC for my main sound, and then I have a secondary sound card output for my VoIP, which is my Discord audio calls, my Skype, and so on, and I have that labeled here as well so I can mix and match appropriately. So much easier. I've always hated that you couldn't label your audio sources. Now you can. 10 out of 10. Lastly, I just wanted to say the OBS team has also done a great job of updating the wikis and the documentation to make it a little bit easier to understand. They actually do have documentation about the software. I'm not, you know, I make tutorials, but they have their own guides and explanations and things available as well. And so they've done a great job of getting those updated, and they've been updating the documentation for the API so more people can develop plugins for the software. More plugins, more modularity, more features and things you can add via plugins is always a good thing, so super excited. This has been the biggest update I've seen to OBS Studio in a long while. I think the big 20.0 update was pretty big for a little while. Well, no, maybe it was 19. One of those was pretty big, but this has been one of the bigger updates in a long time that I've seen, and I'm super impressed with it. I'm super happy with so many of these changes that I've been asking for, and I even mentioned like I wanted in my big master class. So great job to the team. Just wanted to make an update video showing you all the features, walking you through the basics. I will have a more locked down specifics of those audio settings in a dedicated video. I will basically just kind of rehash that finding your right audio level episode into a new one with these new settings, because this will make it so much easier, and I'll be able to explain it a lot clearer instead of just having random arrows saying go here, go here. So that will be pretty cool. Stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. I'm EposVox, here to make tech easier and more fun. Subscribe for more such tech and OBS videos. Been talking for a while. I'm going to hop off here. See you next time. This video is sponsored by viewers like you. Our videos would not be possible without the generosity of those of you who contribute to one of our fan funding options, be it Donor Box, Twitch subscriptions, direct contributions via PayPal, or Patreon. To join our inner circle and get behind-the-scenes looks at videos, go to eposvox.com/support to learn more, and join us on Discord at eposvox.com/discord. Thanks.